For me, this podcast has a simple mission, and it is to act as a bridge between our generations. We talk about life, we talk about culture, music, their successes, their failures, their regrets, and their legacies. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Midday. My guest in this episode is a remarkable woman. And I may not have known a lot about her prior to our conversation, but since our conversation, the thing that shines through the most is she has such an indomitable will. And I would describe her as a fighter. I don't know if she'd describe herself as the same, but I would describe her as a fighter, and I would say that she is somebody who cannot be put down. We have a fascinating conversation that revolves around her childhood and what that was like growing up, first of 7 siblings, and living in Nigeria, though she was brought up in the UK, and then relocating back to the UK, and the marks those have left on her personhood we talk about on the podcast. And I really enjoyed the conversation. It was fascinating. And we also talk about faith, we talk about her spirituality, we talk about challenges she faced and how she overcame them. Really fascinating conversation. So if you are new here, why don't you please go ahead and like, share, and subscribe, which is something I never thought I'd be saying. But yes, please do like, share, and subscribe. It just helps our community grow and helps the podcast reach a lot more listeners. But without taking any more time, my guest is Lady Shayo Imologome. So I like to start like this with my guests. What is your full name?
My full name is Shayo Imologome, but people call me Lady Shayo.
Okay, so I'm going to refer to you as Lady Shayo.
Okay.
And what year were you born? And the reason I asked that is just to get an idea of...
let's just say that I'm in the old generation, the older generation. Let me put it like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where were you born?
I was born here in the UK.
Okay. Some people go into like what hospital they were born because they remember it's very fresh
in their mind. I
was
actually born at Greenwich Hospital.
Greenwich Hospital?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Southeast.
Yes, and we grew up in Peckham and Brixton.
Okay, so you're south
Yeah,
bit.
south.
At the time of your birth, do you remember what your parents did for a living?
My father was an accountant. He's always been an accountant. He worked with an auditing firm. And my mom she was a civil servant.
Oh, both professionals.
Yeah, I remember she worked in the computer room. You know, back in the day when we were still using punch cards.
No,
and in the era of punch cards and paper tapes, if anyone remembers what that was, I know she worked with computers back in what computers then were giant machines, but she worked with the civil service.
Okay, wow. What was it like growing up with 2 professional parents, or parents who, I guess, 9-to-5s?
Well, my early years I didn't spend with them. My early years I was with foster parents.
Okay.
So I think I spent from literally before I was 1. I was, taken to the foster parents. They were 2 widows, British widows. I lived with them from before I was 1, I think from maybe 6 months, 3 months or thereabout, to when I was 9.
Wow.
And then when I was 9, I came to stay with my parents. So when you say growing up, my very, very early years were with foster parents. So.
And but in that time, were you seeing your parents at all?
Yes, of course. They always come around. We go for Christmas, holidays, and things like that.
Okay.
And they often come to visit and all of that. So yeah.
Oh, when you say we, you have
my younger
siblings?
brother. Yeah.
Oh, okay. How many siblings do you have?
7.
I'm sorry.
All of us together.
You have 7 siblings.
6 siblings plus me, making 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. I mean, I know this because my parents also come from families of the same size, but it's still remarkable.
I think that generation, they believed in having a lot of children. So if you look at, people of that era, they believed in having a lot of children.
Yeah.
And you find out that the economy was good back then. So it was easy. But and then people got married on time. That's another thing.
They got what we would now say young. They got married young. But
they married earlier. Yeah. But you find out today that people are, the economic situation is not favorable. Yeah. People marry a lot later, and then you also look at the challenges people have in fertility as well.
That is true. Oh, are they linked? Do you think it's because people get married a lot
Well,
later.
I don't know whether the issues of fertility and late marriage are linked, but there are issues with fertility. A lot of people have fertility issues, despite the fact that we have increased breakthroughs in scientific, remedies to that. But people do have challenges with fertility.
So growing up then, were you, and I want to say, I know you started living back with your parents when you were 9, but were you close with your siblings? Did you guys...
Okay, so my siblings at that time were just me and my immediate brother.
Okay.
The rest didn't come until when I was 9. That was when the rest came. So it was just my younger brother. Yeah. So there's a gap of 9 years between myself and
number 3.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're the first child of 7.
Yes.
Well, so this is the interesting thing is, I also have a sister who's number 1 of 3. And I know from experience the kind of responsibilities that first children have, particularly if they're female. What do you think? Not do you think, because you've just said, but what was it like then having that kind of responsibility as a first sibling, first daughter?
Well, I didn't like it, obviously, but you came in handy, really. So, because I don't think it's limited to female daughters, because I think for me and my younger brother, both of us had that responsibility, taking care of the children. So, but I remember that from a very early age, I knew how to feed babies, bathe them, change them, take care of them. And somebody might look at it and say, "Oh, that was a lot." But when I had my own children, it was a ride in the park. I knew exactly what. I never had any struggle to know how do you bath the baby, or how do you change the baby, or how do you put the child to sleep. I mean, it was like second nature. Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't have any issues with taking care of my own children.
Wow. So it came in handy, the fact that you...
Exactly. So it was, of course, as a young person, you'd like to play or do some other things, and maybe you have to change the baby, or you have to wash the bottle. I remember then every morning and evening we were washing. I had to wash what we call the bottle unit. So I had to wash all the bottles and the teats, wash the teats with salt and all of that. And then I think it was Milton or something we used to put inside to sterilize it.
And were the nappies cloth nappies as well?
Exactly, cloth nappies. And back then, we didn't have a washing machine. I'm talking because when I was 9, we came back to Nigeria. When I was 11, we came back to Nigeria. Okay. So we didn't have a washing machine. I mean, back in those days,
hand washed everything.
So it was hand washed, but there was a science to it. Let me put it like that. I remember we had to first of all soak the nappies in nappy sand. Oh, yeah. There's something that I don't know if they still exist. And it was more healthy because now you're talking about Pampers and the challenge of disposing of them, and then climate change and all of that. But that back then it was cloth nappies. Yeah. You soak them in nappy sand, and then you wash. Exactly. And a couple of rinses and you're done. And it was healthy for the environment. Yeah. The trick with ensuring that the babies are healthy, because if you leave a cloth nappy on a baby for too long, it can lead to nappy rash. So I think we used to have nappy liners that we used to put inside the nappies. Wow, yeah. There was nappy, and then even the technique of folding that nappy, so that the pin does not. The pin doesn't, unhook and then pinch the pin. Wow. So the technique of that's a technique on its own. So not everyone even knows the technique of folding that nappy properly and then pinning it up so that everything stays in. That's a real
skill that it's kind of lost now.
It's lost. Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's lost now, but it was quite. I mean, it wasn't a big deal really at the end of the day.
Do you feel like you missed out on? Well, clearly you did, but how does that make you feel, knowing that you missed out on certain experiences because you had the responsibility of...
I didn't miss out on any experience.
Oh, you didn't?
What experience would you say I missed out?
For example, your friends meeting up to play. Well, I guess if your friends were meeting up to play or go out or do something fun, but you had the responsibility.
I used to go out. In fact, I used to go out. I had friends. I used to go out. I had friends. Because even with those children, as many as they were, we had 2 house helps. Okay, so you had help. Yeah, we had 2 house helps. At any point in time, we had a house help, and at a point we had 2. Okay. But my mom is a disciplinarian, so even though you have house helps, there was a way she would apportion the work. Everybody had something to do. That's good. And of course, it was a big household. When I'm talking about Nigeria now, we had a very big house. So we had the children, obviously, my mom, my dad, and all the children. and the house helps, and we had a driver, and then of course you had family members living with us. I remember we had a cousin, my auntie, and from time to time there was always one or two cousins or so in the house as well. So all of us were there making a whole. So you're talking of cooking, cleaning, and all the rest of it. So there was always things to do. But my mother the house helps were there, but work would go round, as many as we are. Trust me, everybody had something to do. Washing plates alone was always a major challenge.
Was that your least favorite chore?
Nobody likes washing plates. So we used to have a timetable on who's washing plates.
Wow.
And there was always fight over, because in the evening, maybe my dad would eat a late night snack or something, and the plates would be in the sink. And then the following morning, there's a war over, these plates belong to last night, I'm not washing them, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow. So you moved back to Nigeria at 9 or at 11.
Yeah.
Did you get the sense that the whole family being together helped cultivate that kind of bond, like everyone living together under the same roof?
Obviously, it's important that family is important, and growing up together is very important.
Yeah. So you're 11, back in school. Primary school, I'm imagining you did in the UK.
Yeah.
And then secondary school was in Nigeria.
Yeah.
What was it like? Was there a culture shock going from living here primary school?
It was a disaster.
Really?
I remember, I would never forget the day I landed in Nigeria.
The heat.
So let me explain what happened. So from the UK, there was that excitement that we're coming to Nigeria. We're relocating to Nigeria. My dad just got a job with First Bank back then. So it was exciting. They had sold the house. We had packed all our stuff and we were moving. So I remember the flight, that exciting. You've never been in a plane before. So wow, we're in the plane. The takeoff. I remember myself and my younger brother, we took it in turns to go to the toilet and I started pressing with all the buttons. We found the buttons and all the thing. You press this and this happens. You press that, the air comes out. We had fun playing around in the toilet and pressing all the buttons. It was fun to us. And we landed. Now, when we landed, I think coming out of the plane, the humidity that hits me.
It's like a wall.
The heat, you can actually feel the water vapor in the air. And then the smell of, there was this smell of sand.
Yeah, earth.
Yeah, the smell of the earth, that rich smell, it was nice. The smell of the earth, you could actually smell the earth in the air, that kind of thing. And of course, all the cousins and everyone were there welcoming us, and they were, they start pulling you left, right, and center, which I, was like, Shayo, hey.
And did you have an accent? Did you have a British accent?
Obviously, yes, I did. And that was the good part. And then we got into this, I think that my dad had sent, of course, my dad was at the airport, because my dad had gone ahead of us anyway.
Okay.
So he was at the airport, and then he said, okay, we were to get into a taxi. I remember the name of the taxi driver, Lasisi.
What an odd thing to remember.
I remember the name very well. Mr. Lasisi. Anyway, Mr. Lasisi was to take us to my aunt's place.
Okay.
So, and I can't remember who came with us in the taxi. Anyway, so we got into this taxi. That was when the first shock came. The journey.
Oh.
The road. And then this man did not, he was like, Lagos taxi drivers.
He was used to it. Like, yeah.
The way they drive.
They drive like this.
Smartly.
But they drive like this. The car's neck to neck. Like,
My goodness. And I couldn't understand. You're coming from UK, the roads are smooth, and you're getting to Nigeria, this is... And he was like, the car is... And then guess where he took us to? Mushin.
What?
My aunt's house happened to be in Mushin.
Wow.
Apajao.
So you left Greenwich? No, southeast of London.
So we got into and it was a face to face me, I slap you. It was a face-to-face house. We got there. They just took us straight to the back of the house. Wow. Apparently, whether my aunt was not around or whether she was in somebody's room at the back of the house. And she didn't even know that we had landed, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Probably if she had known, she would have maybe told us to go to the sitting room or something. But anyway, they took us straight into this one-room apartment. Just a one room. Nigerian one room.
Yeah.
And I got into this room. What was in that room was a single bed and a table and a chair.
Wow.
Nothing on the floor. Concrete floor. And then there was a clothes hanger on the wall. and then there was burglary proof. And I remember that this particular room was right in front of the bathrooms. You know, the bathrooms of those days where people urinate and do all sorts of things. And they often don't wash it off. And so the stench from there was coming into the room. And I looked at, and this is me, young me, 11. My young brother was about 9, and my mom and a baby. And they just brought us into the room and said we should sit down. They were happy to see it, Mom, you know. And they said we should sit down. And then I remember sitting down and looking around the room. And in my mind, I'm like, is this where we're going to stay? All I could associate with that room was a prison. Because I'm seeing iron things on the wall, on the window. A single bed, concrete floor. To me, I mean, it looked like a prison cell.
Yes, a shock to the system. Coming from where you're coming from.
I was like, I hope they don't want me to stay in this house. In this room. And I started crying. Oh, wow. I just burst into tears. And then my brother burst into tears. And then my mom joined me and burst into tears.
Wow.
And then my aunt was like, what is the matter?
Wow.
It was, I was, in fact, until my dad came and was like, why are all of you crying? Oh yeah, get up, let's go.
Oh.
Then I kind of gave a sigh of relief, but okay, at least we're not staying here. I don't know how bad it's going to be. And then he took us to Mainland Hotel. I don't know if that hotel still exists. And then I got into the hotel and I was like, why on earth would you take me to
there first?
That place? For heaven's sake, why did you? And of course, we had a suite in the hotel.
Okay.
You know, we had a suite, access to the restaurant to eat anything, you know, like and all of that. So, I think when we got into the time, my mom was asking, why were you crying? I said, did you see that when they took us to?
Well, you should have asked her why she was crying now.
She said she was literally confused that everybody was crying.
Wow.
So, I will not forget that day. It was so funny.
So then, I guess you live somewhere else in Nigeria, in Lagos, right?
Yeah, I lived at Ikeja. I've lived in Ikeja. Let me see. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think we moved. We stayed at Gbemisola Street, Ikeja, and then we moved, I think, to Ilukbeju at a point. Yeah.
Secondary school. What was that like?
Secondary school was nice.
Were you? What did you find? Because studying in the UK up to, I guess you're only 11, but then when you moved to Nigeria, what did you find that was different about?
Okay, so I started my secondary school in Reagan Memorial, which was pretty good. Nigeria was good back in the day. We had textbooks.
They still have textbooks.
You call what they give children these days textbooks?
Oh, I guess the difference.
And quality textbooks.
Yeah.
Quality teaching. I remember my principal, her name was Mrs. Sholwadi. She was actually an Indian married to Nigerian anyway. Oh. But we had good teachers. Teachers who could speak English. Good teachers. It was a good school, and it was fine. But I was in the afternoon session. They couldn't get me into morning.
So school was split.
Yeah, school was split into morning and afternoon because we didn't have enough. You see, that's a challenge. Nigeria did not have enough facilities, so to say, to go around for everybody.
Actually, another one of my guests has mentioned this, that school was split into morning and afternoon session.
Yeah.
And I think, wow.
So we had the morning session. I know that my dad pulled everything he could to get me into the morning session, but unfortunately he couldn't. So I had to go to the afternoon session. And so I started afternoon session until Jack Conde became governor and then cancelled afternoon and created these new schools. So all of us that was where the disaster now started. Oh. Yes, because the school was not even I can't even call it a school. It was like they just built, how would I even describe them? Like the frame of the school was like you built a frame and then put a roof on top of it. And there was a gap between the wall and the roof. There were no windows.
Wow.
You know, and there was no facility, no lab, and here's me trying to be a science student. I didn't have access to the laboratories. So my physics, chemistry, biology was where the disaster now started.
Right.
So obviously, of course, I'm going to fail WAEC. Not because I'm not intelligent, but because I do not have the facilities to actually study. Even the teachers that tried their best to teach, I mean, what are you teaching?
They're teaching with their arms tied behind their back.
Exactly. Even though they tried, I think they tried to take us to Reagan to use the lab, maybe, but you can count maybe 2-3 times. What do you want to cover in that period of time? So it was like the entire that YX session. I think we were the first people to write YX. It's like you're already dead on arrival. So there wasn't, you had little or no chance of
succeeding at
exactly.
that. Before we started recording, I was saying that, you were saying that you wanted to be a pilot, and I was saying I also wanted to be a pilot. But then I think, I'll let you tell it. But so you wanted to be a pilot, but then was it your mom who didn't?
Okay, so the conversation about being a pilot, I said, it started with being an astronaut, actually.
Oh, an astronaut, sorry.
I wanted to be an astronaut.
Yes.
And then I think my mother was like, no, Astro Kidney, what is that? No way, you can't. How will you take care of your children? How will you this?
But astronauts make money.
And I remember that around that time, you remember the rocket Challenger?
I heard about that.
That, blew up
on, yeah.
And what I was upset about was the fact that there were women on that.
Why were you upset?
Because I said, these are women now.
Oh, sure.
So if these people can do it, why can't
I do it? Yeah.
Anyway, we had a long argument about being an astronaut. So I said, okay, I'll be a pilot. And there was a long argument about being a pilot. So eventually I said, okay, I'll be an engineer. None of them actually happened. Our parents back then, they want to play safe. Yeah. And then, the psychological idea behind the whole thing, you want to do what? You want to fly in the air. No, it's not going to happen. You need to stay on the ground where you're safe and all of that. Yeah, so anyway. So I remember that I failed WAEC. And of course, our parents were like, you don't go home and tell your parents that you failed. Is disaster. Yeah. Anyway, my mom was furious. I remember my father said something. He said, well, you have failed. It's not a problem. You just go and write it again. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my mom said I should see an aunt, one of my aunties in Ibadan. And my auntie said there was a school in Oyo State that is still accepting people, that I should go to that particular school. It was Oyo State College of Technology or something like that. And use that. They had a pre-ND program. Right. And so I should use that to rewrite my papers and then, also do the pre-ND, that after I've done the pre-ND, I would automatically be, I'll start the OND.
Okay.
So I applied to this school and I think they had engineering. So I actually applied for engineering. But when the results came back, they said that the engineering course was full and that there was space in accountancy. Would I mind accountancy?
Engineering to accounting.
Anyway, my mom said, you're not staying in this house. So off you go.
So you had no choice.
So off I went to an accountant to read accountancy. And so I read accountancy, but I struggled.
Not your kind of...
I struggled.
So I think...
I passed, but I struggled.
Really? I think some people are very gifted with numbers. And some
exactly.
People, and so are you gifted with numbers?
No, I'm not gifted with numbers.
Are you more creative with
I'll
words?
I'll be much more creative. Maybe not with words. I can write, but I think when it comes to maybe design and things like that.
Okay. So you have a more creative eye or an outlook on things.
Something like that. Yeah. So so yes, I did become an accountant. Yes, I eventually qualified. I became a chartered accountant. But, and this is what I've come to realize in life. I advise people. Young people often are carried away with this, find your passion, follow your passion. That for me is a wrong path.
Approach.
Find your gift. Find your gift, follow your gift. Your gift will lead you to passion and destiny. Now, what do I mean? So, like we said, if you look at how to define your gift, that your gift is that innate ability to do something effortlessly. So I define it as the ability to anywhere you apply the least effort and get the maximum benefit.
Yeah. There's a clue there.
There's a clue there. So, for example, let's look at singing. You're a singer. Now, a person that has a natural gift, he will be able to sing. He might not be trained. But if he hears the note, he picks it. Now, another person who is trained might hear the note, but before he can pick it, he would have to go through a process of training.
Of course.
But this other person that has the natural ability, he will just be able to, do those things effortlessly without even realizing that he's doing them. So he would have unconscious competency.
Yes. Oh, I use that framework as well.
He would have that. Yeah. So the competency is there, but he doesn't know what he's doing, but he just knows that he's doing it.
Yeah.
That's a clue that's where he's getting. Now, if he now goes back and does the training to understand why he's doing it that way,
he will just be embellishing on something he already has.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he will now that, okay, this thing I did, I just knew that if I do this, it will come out like that. Okay, now he does the training. He now realizes, okay, these are the laws or the processes behind it. That's why I arrived. But I just did it naturally. I didn't even know that, I was doing the right thing. I just did. So if you now, when I say now follow your gift, that is now seek for any avenue where you can use your gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
Follow the gift. You will find out that you will develop your passion in that because it's easy. You're not struggling.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not struggling or striving, and you find out that let's go to singing now. I tell you that my passion is singing, but I cannot sing for my dinner if my life depended on it.
Yeah.
But my passion is singing. I love Two-Face, or I love Mariah Carey, or I love Whitney Houston, or I love Frank Edwards, or Donnie McKirkland, whoever.
Yeah.
And my singing and my passion is singing, but I'm not gifted. So what happens is that I will now train. I will practice. I am going to go through blood, sweat, and tears. I will get there.
But I would have neglected my actual gift.
I will get there, but it is going to take me. The person that has the gift will get there faster, shorter, less effort, less pain. I will get there, but I'm going to apply so much effort. I'm going to struggle.
But some might say that
I'm going to go through. I will get there.
Yeah.
I will become good.
Yeah.
I will become skilled. I can become an international star.
Yeah.
But the channel to get there, it's going to be burdensome because I am not operating in my gift. So when we see people that will tell you that they went through this, and they kept on that, fantastic. You followed through. But you know what? Ask yourself a question. Are you really gifted in that space?
That is very good.
Because if you are, you're not going to go through that pain.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be going through that pain and that challenge and that blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
But if you are able to identify your gift, it just comes easily. And doors will just open for you.
Yeah.
Naturally. So, so my as a parent, I would say try and look at your children and look where their gifting is. What do they do naturally without effort?
What would you say your gift was? Do you know?
So I would say I finally found myself in strategy and consulting.
And you think that's linked to your gift?
Yes. So I recently did some training.
Okay.
Now, before I left Nigeria, I actually ran my own consultancy.
Okay.
I did some training before I started, but they didn't really go deep into a lot of things. Let me put it like that. But I was able to, once I get into a company and I'm able to analyze where the problems are.
Oh, so that's the gift.
Let me, I'm just able to know, my friends used to say, I remember let me take you back as an accountant, as an auditor. When I look at a trial balance, when I come into an organization, I'm able to know where the problems of the company are, And I remember that they used to call me a witch. They just used to call me a witch. Because how does she know? How does she know?
And you'd be right.
And I'll be right. But by the time I'm having the conversations with you, they will be looking at each other and like, who told her?
Wow.
So from that auditing perspective, I enjoyed the understanding the processes and understanding how businesses work. That end of the auditing I liked. I did not like the ticking and checking part of it.
Sure.
I didn't like that part. But, understanding the process, understanding your business operations, identifying why you're not making profits. And those things kind of came naturally to me. I didn't read business in school. I read accounting, But I was able to understand and, what a business, the challenges that they have, why they're losing money. And sometimes I just need to make a slight change maybe in your process or your system or look at your operating model and it will resolve the problem. So, fast forward, I did the training recently and they were telling us, using these frameworks, using that, doing this, and I'm like, I was doing all of these things unconsciously. Okay, but this is what I used to do when I was analyzing this company. So that's what, so this is what the model is called. Wow. Okay, this is what. fine, they gave some different names and some fancy names, but in my mind, I've already drawn up that model by myself.
Wow.
You know, fine, we have the standard models like the SWOT and the PESTLE, all those ones are standard. But there are certain things that you need to take a deeper dive into a company's operations. And I just found out that I was able to deep dive and look at these problems.
Just of your own accord.
Yeah, and so when you now somebody's come up with some framework and says, do this, do that, do that. I remember there was a checklist they gave us, and I'm like, I created my own checklist. And the checklist I created had all of these things. I didn't even know there was a standard one, but I, on my own, had to like, okay, this is required, this is required, this is required, this is required, this is required. So I would say that those things kind of come naturally to me. Those things that you will do them, and you start in the morning, and in the 10 p.m. at night, you just suddenly realize, oh, I've been doing this thing and I haven't eaten.
There's a clue there.
There's a clue there.
Yeah, I'm very curious. The way you're able to suss out companies' operations, does that work with people? Are you able to suss people out in the same way?
Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes, especially when I had a friend. I had a staff. One of my staff back. When I was running my consultancy, he'd been writing ACCA.
Okay.
Fantastic guy, lovely person. And he was having challenges, wasn't able to pass. And I just told him, I said, you know what, you're struggling in the wrong place. You don't have no business with these 5 figures, because this person is a people's person.
Right.
If this guy talks to you, he can sell ice. He can sell ice to an Eskimo. I remember then I had a challenge with another one of my staff. She was misbehaving. I was so angry. I just told him to go and talk to her, and he settled the matter. So
in a way, you're able to see also.
So I said that go and look for anything you can do that is related to interaction and people, marketing, sales, customer service. You do better there. Instead of struggling with these figures, you're struggling with figures, and this is someone that actually teaches.
Wow.
And other people pass. You can't pass. There's a problem. So.
Interesting.
But he's a wonderful person, and he's so good with people.
Yeah. So it means your gift really is perception or observation, and just you're able to pick up on things and analyze.
Maybe you have analyst. I don't know. Yeah, possibly brain, it could be. But
I want to go back to something you said earlier on, because you referenced the Bible. Did you grow up Christian?
Well, when you say grew up Christian, my parents were Christians.
Okay,
not church going.
Okay. But the tenets that governed your early childhood were...
Okay, so when you say early childhood, I was with foster parents.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So they were Christian, not practicing.
Right, okay.
But we did things like Christmas.
Sure.
And they often referred to the Bible once in a while, but they didn't teach us the Bible or that kind of thing. And then when I moved to stay with my parents, of course, they are God-fearing.
Okay. So
my mom's a Christian now.
Okay.
But then, we are like first generation Christians.
Right.
As in, so when I gave my life to Christ, it was tug of war, It's like, our parents back then, they were like, they couldn't really understand what was going on and all of that. But over time, my mom gave her life to Christ, and my father too, before he died. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you lose your dad a long time ago?
A long time ago.
Oh, wow. Were you close with your dad?
Well, I was so close with both of my parents in the, normal African context,
So, and what kind of family was it? Would you guys sit around, have conversations? Could you sit in the same room if your dad was eating, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we could, but we didn't want to, because they would end up sending us on errands.
Sure.
So we had, back then we had there was a sitting room downstairs, and children, the older children, would usually be upstairs and drive the younger ones downstairs.
Sure.
That kind of thing. So we used to have fun growing, especially when African home that was very big.
Yeah.
We used to have lots of fun growing up.
Yeah. Also, another left question that I like to ask is, what's the soundtrack of your childhood?
Soundtrack?
Yes. So what kind of music were you listening to? I would say, well, let's split them up. So before you lived with your parents, what sort of music were you listening to, if you remember?
Well, those days it was Shalama, it was, I think, a bit of Michael Jackson, it was Kool and the Gang.
Okay.
It was, I can't remember them, Commodores, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then, remember...
The pop music.
Yeah, and then Nigeria was really good, because these guys...
Oh, you're talking about Nigeria?
Yeah.
Okay.
People used to come, we used to have Unilag then used to bring these guys in.
Wow.
And have come, so we used to Shalama. I think Shalama has come. A lot of what's this, Raphael Cameron or somebody, like, what's his name now? Yeah, a lot of these stars used to come in and do shows for us back then. They used to play at Unilag, play at the National Theatre.
Oh yeah.
And so Nigeria was really good. They used to have quite fun.
I just find it interesting because most of us absorb music by osmosis. Like, it's always around us, but we're not always aware of. But I guarantee you, if you had to think of what songs you were listening to then, it almost takes you back to then. It's like one of those senses that connects you.
Yeah, because then we didn't have social media. We didn't have.
No, we had the radio.
I
was saying we're from the same generation, but what I mean.
We didn't have social media. And then we didn't have, so now that you can download the song on your phone and all of that, I remember we used to have books where we write the lyrics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that we could get the lyrics. And then we had, these cassettes these tapes and Workmans, that's what we had back then. So we used to have books and we write, exactly, because you don't want the batteries, you don't want your battery to waste. So we used to write the songs. We had books. People had books and the lyrics and all of those kind of things. I remember there was I think it was Ebony. That was a magazine, and I think is it Right On was also a magazine that we used to buy that has lyrics of some of these songs in there, that kind of thing.
Wow.
So that was our life back then.
So we've skipped around a little bit. So. University, when did that happen? How old were you?
Okay, so I started at Ibadan Polytechnic and I finished at the Yaba College of Technology.
In Lagos.
Yeah.
Okay, seems to be a very popular school. I'm amazed at the number of guests I have I've spoken to who have gone through either Yaba or it's a very popular path. I don't know. Maybe it's just the choice of guests that I've had on the show. So what did you study in university then? Or what did you?
Accountancy.
Oh yes.
Okay, so let me come back to how I went to this Oyo State College of Technology. It was actually in Gbogun, Oyo State. You have no idea where that is. Okay, so I was literally taken from Lagos and thrown into a village, and I think the school was closed, and they just took all of us to the Polytechnic in Ibadan, Ire campus, another village. I think it's now the Polytechnic Ire. So they now packed all of us and took us to Ire campus. So which is another village. And I say village, I mean village.
Wow.
I remember that if we want to do photocopies back then, we'd have to go to Ikirun, the next village, to make a photocopy. So we usually gather everything we want to photocopy and delegate one person to do the photocopies. And the school was on top of a hill. I remember students developed a bush path, to get to, somebody followed a hunter and found a path through the forest. To get to the school, so it was a village. There was no pipe-borne water.
Wow.
Yeah, so we used to fetch water from a well. So I know how to pull that thing. And drinking water, obviously nobody wants to drink well water. I remember somebody on students, whether somebody followed a hunter. Anyway, we found the source of the river.
Wow.
We inside the forest on top of the hill where the water is still fresh coming out of the rock. So we used to go there and fetch water into kegs. That would probably last you for like a week.
Wow.
Because there was no who's going to buy swan water or bottled water. Where? With which money?
Wow.
So we used to go to the top of the mountain. And there was another place, I don't know, students, exploration.
Very resourceful.
There's another place, there's a beautiful fountain in that village. It was lovely. It was really, really, and the water comes out of the rock, fresh water. I'm sure somebody must have tapped that place now and used it to bottle water and make a lot of money. I don't know. But yeah, so that was I spent 2 years at Ire.
Okay, wow.
But it was fun.
Yeah. Okay, so you're working as an accountant now?
No.
You didn't start work straight after?
Okay, so I left Ire. I did 1 year IT, and then I went to Yaba. And then I did my youth service, and then I started as an accountant. As
an accountant, okay.
Yeah. An auditor, actually, really, not really an accountant.
Okay. So it goes, from the way I know it, goes, you get chartered accountants, and then you get auditors. Is it one
yeah, so I started as an auditor, even though I was not yet chartered.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was an auditor. I was an auditor with a small firm, but they had very big clients.
Okay, wow.
So we did a lot of joint audits with Pitt Marwick, with Deloitte,
Yeah.
with Akintola Williams and all of the rest. So we had government jobs, we had oil and gas, Shell, Mobil, Chevron, and all the big boys. We had a lot of government agencies. I remember we did NSPMC, I think that's a National Security Printing and Minting Company.
Oh.
We had Pan-Ocean, I remember that among all the oil companies we did. We had some finance houses as well. We had hospitality. I remember we audited the I think it's now is it the Sun Hotel? I can't remember what they've changed their names to. And anyway, we had hotels, and I did a lot of traveling around that time because our clients were all over Nigeria. So I traveled a lot.
So you know that you've been in the country. You know the country.
I traveled, man.
I'm interested to know. I'm interested because how old are you at this point? Just give or take.
I cannot do the calculation.
So you're in your 20s. Let's say 20s, right?
Maybe mid-20s.
Mid-20s. Okay. I'm interested to find out at what age or how romance entered your life.
Not early enough, actually, but then we thank God.
So not as early as you would have wanted.
Not as early as we would have wished to. So no.
Did you have boyfriends growing up?
Not really.
So how did you meet your husband? How did you meet the man you...
Okay, so that's another interesting story. And I'm going to go spiritual now.
Okay.
So, like I said, I didn't meet my husband as soon as I had wanted. And, when you have now become a prayer point, I remember that almost every family gathering, the elders would call you, Shayo, kilo shelensin, when are you inviting us for your wedding? At a point, it was becoming annoying and upsetting. Anyway, so there was a day in church, Reverend Larry Jegede, another wonderful minister of God, and he said, a lot of people here believing you God for something, and so take a moment to pray, ask God what you need to do, and then come and tell me, and I'll pray with you. So there I was in the church, the New Generation Bible Church, that's the name of the church, yeah. So there I was in service, and I said, okay, Lord, I want to get married, and so what should I do? And the Lord said, sew your car. So I got up and I went to meet the Reverend and I told him, and he prayed with me. This was in February of 2001. So I went home. What was I supposed to do? Sew the car. I didn't sew the car. I started saying, how will I carry my car and sew it? I need the car for my job. I need the car because I carry a laptop. I need the car for this. I need the car. So the first argument was that I needed the car for my job. So guess what happened? So this was in February. And when the Lord is talking to you, everywhere you go, every message you hear, whether it's on the radio or it's in a service, or even when people are just talking and they're saying their own thing, you're hearing that message. Go and do what I asked you to do. I remember telling a friend of mine that, see what has happened though. She said, and you are still here, and the car is still there. Will you go and do this? Will you go and do what they asked you to do and stop wasting time?
Wow.
And I refused. This was in February. Anyway, the excuse was that because of my job. Do you know I lost that job? I lost the job over some other issues which I'm not going to go into right now. Anyway, I lost the job. And the Holy Spirit was there waiting for you quietly. I used to. Anyway, it got to a point that I said, if this car gets stolen, because I said, okay, even if the car gets stolen, I have insurance. I think the insurance was about to expire. I said, okay, I think at this point I need to give myself some common sense, because if this car gets stolen and I don't have insurance and I still haven't fulfilled the vow, I've lost everything. So I just packaged the car, packaged the the particulars, and I went to church and I sold the car. Wow. I gave them in church, and then that evening I couldn't go home because I was actually staying with my uncle. I was staying with an uncle then. And I knew that if I get home and I tell my uncle I have soon, I am going to be dead. So I went to my aunt, who's an MFM member. And fortunately for me, they were having house fellowship when I got there. So I just joined in the fellowship and I told them, and they prayed with me. So my aunt followed me to my uncle so that he would not kill me, skin me alive. And then I saw my mom coming with her elder sister. I knew that I'm in trouble. She said, Oh yeah, what did you say you did?
What?
So I explained to her. She said, you sold the car. If you don't want the car, maybe you give it to somebody now. Why would you go? Anyway, they insisted on following me to church. So when we got to church, I asked them to take a seat and let me go and meet the pastor upstairs. Only for me to get upstairs, and thank God bless Bishop Olomobo. He's late now. He was, he has said, Shayo pele, moto I said they should return it to you. That whatever it is that you're trusting God for, He has answered your prayer. Where is the particular? They should return everything to me. They should give it back to me. So, first of all, I looked at my stupidity. Father God, since February. You see how I just denied myself?
Wow.
See how I just suffered myself for nothing? I say, Father God. So, that was how I got now. Guess when I met my husband?
If you say December.
Nope. I met him February.
Oh, wow.
The following year.
The following year.
Meaning, I was supposed to have met him when? So, you can see how delay. So, when I look at that experience, I'm like, hey, Father God, you are just merciful. And you just be looking at me, see this one, okay. They're looking at you, continue doing rubbish. So...
Was your husband in the same church as you?
No.
Oh.
He was in another church.
Okay.
But I used to go to the other church for, I think they had this singles fellowship, senior singles fellowship. So I used to go there and fellowship with them. So for me, my advice to singles also is that, you need to be visible. Let me put it like that. Yeah. Make yourself visible.
Yeah.
So if you're in a church and you can't see any brother in the church that likes you, my dear, go to another place, fellowship with some other people.
Yeah.
Go to meetings, attend weddings, Go out. You need to move. You need to be visible. I mean, we are trusting God, but at the same time, you need to be visible and then pray that God opens the eyes of the person.
Yeah.
So if you're in a place, don't just sit there. I think that was one of the things I did. I stayed in one church and, yes, we don't want to leave our church. We don't want to go to another church. But, when you get to that bridge, you will cross it. The most important thing, find somebody first.
Yeah.
So while the brothers are looking, you also have to be seen.
Oh, that's good.
You have to be seen, right? So brothers are looking. Make yourself visible so they can see you. So I remember I used to crack these jokes with the choir, back in Nigeria. When because I'm not very tall, so they're always pushing me to the front. I'm like, me, I'm married though. It's you younger ones that should be in front. Let them see you. They need to see you. They don't need to see me. I've been seen. So you younger ones, stay in front and let people see you, that kind of thing. So be seen, be visible. So join a department,
There are parts of your story, your experience, that would connect with a lot of listeners who are also where you were at the time, not yet married and hoping to be married. My question is, what was it like as soon as you got married? Was it everything? What was that experience like for you? Having waited so long for it.
Okay, so
and then now getting married. What was that experience like?
I think again, preparation is important. I thank God for my mom. Growing up, I learned so much from her. So things like cooking, things like cleaning, things like taking care of the home, things like taking care of children. So all of those things were parts of my life growing up. So getting married there was no shock for me. It wasn't that, because I've been doing those things right from home.
But what about the living with somebody else and I guess having somebody else in your, like how marriage does, bring somebody else into your face, into your, world?
With all the battalion in my house, there was always somebody in your face anyway. So
right.
For me, there was no shock.
Okay.
Absolutely none.
That's good.
Apart from the fact that, thank God, finally shall we have we are married. I have a husband. I have my own home. Let me make my home. But I didn't, for the cooking, I didn't have any issues at all.
And you have how many children?
2.
2 children. What was it like going from just being a wife to becoming a mother? Was that also natural for you? I guess with your experience as a first sibling.
It was natural for me. I didn't have, like I said, it was, I mean, obviously getting pregnant was for the first time and all of that. There's that. But I think I was pretty prepared for it. And I think equipping yourself with knowledge helps. So reading up what to expect, what's it like, and then you also need to understand that it's different for everybody. Some people have challenges, some people don't, some people feel this way, some people don't. But reading up and understanding things helps. And then I remember then that when you go to the doctor and they are telling you do this or do that, I ask questions. And like some doctors were like, this patient is knowledgeable. You can't just prescribe a drug for me. I'm going to go and research that drug. What are the side effects? Why are you prescribing this drug for me? Is it dangerous for me or my baby?
You ask all of those kind of questions.
Yes, so you can't just, because some people are just lazy. They'll just give you anything.
Yeah.
And it can lead, so I equip myself with information. And the internet allows you to do that.
Yeah.
So at least ask questions. Don't just take everything that that they give you. Find out.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people have challenges balancing career and motherhood, and the requirements of the home. How do you balance it? How do you it's like, how do you eat your cake and have it, so to say? You want to have it all. First and foremost, I would say a woman can have it all. You can build your career, you can have a home. The difference is the timing.
Okay.
Number one, don't be in a hurry. You understand? I think women need to understand that there's an issue of timing. And time is different for all of us. I had actually built my career to a significant level before I got married. So I was already senior management before I got married. Some other people is going to be the other way around. You're going to get married early before you get into senior management. And some it might be you already at top management before you. So it's different for all of us. You have to understand that our timings and our seasons are different, but that you are in a season. Now, you need to understand your season and maximize your season. So if your season, you're married, you're just newly married and you're having children, maximize that season of motherhood at the early stages and enjoy your marriage. And don't be too upset about some other people are getting promotion or some other people are jumping in their career. Your own time is coming for that career. It's coming. Don't stress yourself. Let the person, you face your own season. Your season now is you have married and you have children. Enjoy your season. Your children will get to an age where they need less of your time. Like my boys are teenagers now. They don't need. I'm not changing nappies. I'm not cooking. If you're hungry, if you can't sort yourself out, you're seriously on your own. So a time will come when they are going to grow up, and those early years they are so fast. Before you know it, they have gone. By the time a child is doing GCSE or whatever it is he's doing, whether it's in Nigeria, you just be saying goodbye, because once they step into college and uni, they are out of the house. They're gone. So maximize your season. Enjoy those years. Life is so easy these days. You can go to school at any time. There's no law that says you must go to school at 20 or you can always have I think I saw a woman who went back to uni at 50.
I think I've even seen somebody in their 60s who
there is, just understand your season and maximize your season. You can have everything.
Just with regards to that about motherhood, would you say, because you were close with your mom as well, right, growing up? Would you say you're the kind of mom to your children that your mom was to you?
No, I don't think so. In fact, even my children will not agree.
So was your mom, what are the key differences?
The key differences, I think, is in the area of discipline.
Who was more disciplinarian?
My mom.
Really?
Okay. Oh, Father God.
Oh, and also then, so did that make you want to do the opposite?
Not entirely. Not entirely, because discipline is necessary.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have come out the way I am if I hadn't been under that kind of level of. My mom was disciplined, and then there's one thing she always used to say is that the only thing she has to give you is your education. That's the only thing she has. I remember the day she said, "Can you see the cars outside?" So, yeah. You see those cars? They belong to me. They are not yours. The only thing I have for you is your books. Read. Wow. So she was, African mother now. You do anything stupid. Sometimes I look at my children and like, hey, it's not your fault. If I had done this to my mom, so, the level of discipline back in the day.
Yeah.
Was, but we've moved, the way we do things now has changed. Now we have to have a more collaborative way of disciplining children and all of that. But when they were younger, of course, I used to smack them when they do something stupid and all of that. But they do get to an age where you can't slap them anymore. I remember this day I was trying to beat my son. He's taller than me now, and it's like he just held my. I was like, Mom, what? So, yes.
How did you respond?
What do you? So so those early years, yes, you can make them do whatever it is you want them to do, but they get to an age where you just have to trust that they have done the work. Exactly. So sometimes my son would tell me, Mom, I am not stupid. I know I have to do this.
Yeah.
So you have to trust. And if they do make mistakes, allow them to make the mistake and learn from it. They're going to make the mistake, and when they've made the mistake, you're going to say, but I told you. Now you've made the mistake. Okay, are you ready to listen to me now? Good. Let's do it this way.
Do it this way.
Exactly.
There is a question that I like to ask that I think I like to frame it differently, but it's a weird question. What would you consider to be your deepest regret?
I don't think deepest. Do I have regrets?
Deepest is probably a bit too dramatic. So, but what would you consider? Yeah, do you have any regrets looking at the breadth of your life now, from growing up to now? Decisions you've made, roads not taken, things like that.
No, I don't have.
Other than not becoming an astronaut, because
no. I don't even have a regret about not becoming an astronaut. Actually, I believe that that's the path that the Lord wanted me to go anyway. I don't even think I'd have survived because I'm not good in maths. So,
but you never know, you might be good in space.
I don't think I'd have survived. Well, my philosophy in life is, and why I don't have regrets, is that I believe that everything that happens to me is for a reason, and that it's part of God's divine purpose.
Okay.
So if I have taken this path, if I have made this decision, it's the right decision. That's my philosophy. I never believe that I've made a wrong decision. I have made the right decision. And so once I have made this decision, this is the right decision. And there's a reason why I made this decision. It's now left for me to move forward. So and because I have that philosophy, I have never looked back to say, I should have gone left or I should have gone right. Even when sometimes it looks as if, you should have gone left. No, I went right. There was a reason why I went right.
It's like you're very resolute, and it keeps you going forward.
Yeah, so
I decided this. So
exactly, and so I move forward.
Yeah.
And that's what I encourage people when they get married. I think that's one of the challenges a lot of people have. So you get married, you have challenges in your marriage, and then you're thinking, I made a mistake.
Oh, I see.
That's the end of your marriage. When you start thinking, I shouldn't have married John. I should have married Peter. Peter was more understanding. Why did I marry? John is the wrong person. You've now psychologically told yourself that John is the wrong person. You're not going. That marriage is dead. But if you have told yourself that, look, God allowed me to marry John. There's a reason why I married John, or I married BC or whoever. There is something that I need to achieve, or we need to achieve together. And because it is the right decision, this marriage is working. It will work. So you have to have that
mindset.
Exactly, that positive mindset. Once you say I do at that altar, I do. You have said I do throughout. It is I do. What you know about him, what you don't know about him, I do. I love him I've heard people say, we don't want those vows to say in sickness and in health, in riches. In sickness and in health, I do. In riches and in poverty, I do. Whatever life throws at us, I. So you know that positive mindset to say, I said I do, and I do. It's nothing like I don't, or it was. Don't even entertain that thought.
Yeah.
Don't even think about it. You made the right decision. It is the right. God allowed me to make the right decision, and this is the right marriage for me. This is the right person for me. So we move. We move forward. Wow. So if people can have that mindset, don't even think. You married him. He's the right person. He's now Mr. Right. You move forward ever, backward never. But a lot of people, they look back, they start comparing, and then they find themselves. It's like you slowly dig a hole.
Yeah.
You dig more.
Yeah, because you're living your life.
Exactly.
Back. Yeah.
You dig more.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you have entered the pit.
Yeah.
So once you make that decision to marry or whatever decision, take the job, whatever, it's the right decision.
move forward. So following that, then you really come across to me as somebody who embraces the time, and you again, because we're not just looking at how old you are, but also as a person, you seem to have moved with the times. And I'm going to use really loose things to say what I'm saying. So being in a position now where you maximize the internet, even though growing up, such a thing didn't exist.
We didn't have it.
Right. Along the same trajectory, looking forward, what would you, in 10 years' time, what kind of life do you think you would like to be living, or where do you see yourself in 5 years? You know, that kind of question.
Okay, so the future for me, the plan is, yes, get myself, well, of course, I'm here in the UK because of my children, basically, but...
which is to say, if you would ideally want to be in Nigeria, is that what you mean?
Yeah, I want to go back home, maybe sometime in the future.
Okay.
So the plan is go back into my consulting,
okay.
Run my own consultancy and go into lecturing. Simple as that.
Oh, wow.
I actually lecture at the Lagos Business School. I've done some guest lecturing for them and a number of other places. I do a lot of public speaking as well.
Right.
So yes, I'd just go back into that really.
And when you are not, so something else I should factor into that is, that's on a professional front. What about are there other aspects? What about socially, or what about, I don't know, not socially, but, so what else are you doing in 10 years from now? When you are not lecturing, so on a Monday afternoon, on Thursday evening, you finish lecturing. What else is in your life in 10 years from now?
Social life. I'm not really a social kind. I mean, I don't do drinks and things like that.
Your movies, music.
I'm probably like, yes, I like watching. I think I unwind with TV. I like watching movies.
Okay.
Usually series. I think movies are too short for me. They don't really.
See, I'm the opposite. I find series too drawn out, and I like something that's just like I can get to the end of it.
I like the series because they draw out the story. You know, and then when I'm watching this series, I'm not just watching, I'm analyzing, I'm understanding the moves, I'm understanding the psychology, I'm looking at leadership traits.
Wow.
You know,
wow.
so if you
even your analytical,
I'm looking at what the Bible says concerning these issues. You know, if I sit down and begin to draw out things from different things I've watched. If I sit down, maybe like Game of Thrones, now if I tell you, I can actually build an entire leadership series from looking at the different leadership styles of the people in that.
That is a gift. That is a gift.
You know,
yeah.
I can draw that. Rob Stark. This is the kind of leader he was. But his son, Ned is the father. Rob is the son.
I'm not big on Game of Thrones.
I can tell you the kind of leadership styles, and then the things to avoid, what to do, what he did right, what he didn't do right, and things like that. So
it's like you're always learning.
I'm always learning. I'm always looking at different things. I'm turning it. I'm looking at different things with different lenses. You know,
analyzing things. That's a strong and powerful gift.
So when other people are just watching it for the fun, I'm analyzing. My brain is working.
Yeah. Wow. So it works for you when it works for you. Are there times when that gift doesn't work for you? Are there times when that... Because you know, have you ever heard this said, your strength to an extreme becomes a weakness?
Okay.
Have you ever... So I guess I'm saying that because something that you're so good at and is so second nature to you.
Somehow, I think exactly that's the word, second nature.
So are there times when that nature is doing things... does it ever work for you?
I've never had that experience, really. I mean, just that ability to... Sometimes I get into a supermarket and I'm looking at control lapses. And I've actually had to call people, and I've done it once. I've said, "Where's your manager?" I said, "Look, people are going to steal from you."
What? Wow.
I said, "Look, there's a gap. I can see the gap clearly here. You need to." And they will look at me like,
"Wow."
You know. So that happens. I've a number of times I've been at the airport and I've seen how people can easily smuggle things past their security.
Do you know, it's so funny. Some people are, like, I'm a people watcher. Your brain is analyzing situations and
I'm like, I know how to. Now, the danger is that if I see it, somebody else might see it.
Yes, very true.
And somebody else might exploit it.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
You know, so I because my brain works like that, you know, even when I'm not supposed to be working, but I'm making those connections, I'm making those calculations to say,
wow, that's really
this
good.
is a system error.
This has been a fantastic conversation, and there's so much more I could ask you. But I'm really appreciative of your time, and I want to say thank you so much for
and
being
thank
on
you
this.
for inviting me. It's been nice chatting.
It's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you.